Blake Lively's world just collapsed, and this time, it's not a rumor. The actress was arrested late last night, reportedly picked up from her Los Angeles home around 11 p.m., and now the whispers are growing louder. Did she bribe a judge to bury the case? While mainstream media keeps suspiciously quiet, no doubt terrified of the backlash, we've got the inside scoop. Because behind the red carpet smiles and courtroom dramatics, things were unraveling fast. Both legal teams were knee-deep in discovery, that thrilling phase where all the secrets come crawling out, documents, testimonies, receipts, all of it. And for Blake's side? It wasn't just about preparing for trial. It was about making. Sure, their skeletons stayed locked away, but the walls started cracking. Sources began leaking word that Blake's team may have gotten creative with their evidence, carefully curating what to turn over, and conveniently forgetting the rest. Rumors swirled that they were hiding documents that could have blown the case wide open in Justin Baldoni's favor. It stopped feeling like a legal process and started looking more like a high-stakes chess match, except no one was sure if both players were even following the same rulebook. Then came the moment that really set off alarm bells. Judge Louis J. Lyman made a stunning call, dismissing not one, but two of Baldoni's most critical claims. And the kicker? He gave no explanation. No ruling. Just brushed them off as irrelevant, and moved on like it was business as usual. But it wasn't. These weren't minor technicalities, they were claims that could have flipped the case on its head. And suddenly, people weren't just questioning the strategy, they were questioning the integrity of the whole courtroom. Enter the corruption rumors. You didn't have to be a detective to sense something was off. The judge's dismissals weren't just confusing, they were suspicious. Like the kind of moves you make when someone's pulling the strings behind the curtain. Was Judge Lyman compromised? Was Blake Lively playing puppet master behind the scenes? What started as a bitter legal feud has now morphed into something bigger, darker, a Hollywood legal scandal teetering on the edge of criminal conspiracy. At this point, it's less a courtroom battle and more a full-blown soap opera. And Blake? She's no longer just the star. She's the plot twist no one saw coming. Just when everyone thought the Blake Lively legal circus couldn't get more chaotic, came the twist no one saw coming. A bombshell. Whispers turned into accusations. Blake Lively, yes, the Blake Lively. The face of this entire courtroom disaster, allegedly had personal ties to Judge Louis J. Lyman. That's right. According to sources close to Justin Baldoni's team, there might have been something more than just legal proximity between the Hollywood starlet and the man ruling over her case. Was she pulling strings behind the scenes? Using her fame, charm, and maybe a few strategic lunches to tip the scales in her favor? It was giving less trial of the year and more a mob movie with better lighting. Let's be clear, it started as rumor. But the internet doesn't wait for confirmation, it runs. And once the whispers hit social media, the floodgates burst open. The woman once hailed as Hollywood royalty was now tangled in a scandal dripping with corruption, bribery, and alleged judicial manipulation. The press exploded. Fans split. Was Blake a victim of tabloid hysteria? Or had she turned the American courtroom into her personal stage? Then, it escalated fast. Baldoni's legal team didn't just hint at bias. They formally accused Judge Lyman of accepting bribes to dismiss two of the most damaging claims against Blake. This wasn't a gossip blog headline. It was an official legal accusation, one that rocked the case to its core. The dismissals had already raised eyebrows, but this turned a controversial ruling into a full-on credibility crisis. If true, it wasn't just Blake's reputation on the line. It was the justice system itself. The allegations sent shockwaves through legal circles. A sitting federal judge accused of bribery in a celebrity defamation trial. This wasn't just unusual. It was unprecedented. The courtroom wasn't just a battleground anymore. It was a crime scene. Within days, a formal investigation was launched. All eyes turned to Judge Lyman. Had he been compromised? Had Blake Lively bought influence with favors, fame, or worse, public trust crumbled overnight? The lawsuit faded into the background, eclipsed by a far more dangerous question: was the trial rigged from the start? Investigators wasted no time. As they sifted through records and rulings, inconsistencies emerged. Decisions that once seemed odd now looked downright suspicious. The case wasn't just unstable, it was possibly tainted. What started as a messy defamation case had mutated into a sprawling legal scandal with stakes reaching far beyond Blake's Hollywood bubble, and as the investigation widened, the truth started creeping into the light. Blake's alleged proximity to the judge. The timing of the dismissed claims. The sudden silence from court officials. Coincidence? Or a calculated manipulation of the legal system? Whatever the answer, one thing was certain: Blake Lively wasn't just fighting a defamation suit anymore. She was at the center of a legal firestorm that could take down everything: her career, her credibility, and possibly a federal judge. The findings so far did little to calm the chaos. If anything, they only deepened the confusion. Public reaction was instant and ruthless. From courtroom commentators to social media sleuths, everyone had an opinion. Legal experts called the trial's integrity into question. Fans split into camps. On one side were the loyalists, convinced Blake Lively was the target of a smear campaign, a woman being railroaded by the system and the press. But on the other side, a louder chorus grew: those who believed this trial wasn't just flawed. It was rigged. That justice was no longer the question. Was there any justice left to serve at all? The bribery accusations had flipped the narrative upside down. What started as a bitter civil lawsuit between two famous names had morphed into something far darker: a legal scandal laced with corruption, secrecy, and influence. Suddenly, Blake Lively wasn't just a celebrity fighting to clear her name. She was now at the epicenter of a possible judicial crisis. And with each new revelation, the whispers of conspiracy became harder to ignore. The deeper the investigation went, the more people started to believe the unthinkable. Maybe the system really was compromised, and just when it felt like the story couldn't spiral any further, it did. Authorities raided one of Blake Lively's own upscale restaurants. Yes, a full-blown raid. Not just a knock at the door, but a targeted operation involving law enforcement storming the property, seizing documents, searching for links to financial corruption and judicial bribery. At first, the move seemed random, bizarre even. But quickly, it became clear this wasn't just about unpaid taxes or a bookkeeping error. This was about connecting the dots. The restaurant wasn't the endgame. It was a potential smoking gun, the place where dirty money might have moved. The timing couldn't have been worse. Blake's image, already bruised from months of courtroom chaos, now took another devastating blow. Pictures of her leaving the scene in tears spread online within minutes. The Hollywood icon, shaken, exhausted, and cornered, no longer looked like the glamorous figure the public had adored for years. She looked like someone watching her world collapse in real time. Because this wasn't just legal anymore. It was personal. Her career, her reputation, her freedom, all hanging by a thread. And while the restaurant technically remained open for business, its future was anything but secure. The raid had left a stain no PR spin could clean. Customers whispered. Reporters camped outside. Employees feared layoffs. The investigation loomed like a storm cloud, and everyone knew this was far from over. The message was loud and clear. No matter how famous you are, no matter how powerful, you can be investigated. And if the allegations proved true, Blake Lively wouldn't just be a fallen star. She'd be a cautionary tale. The fallout from the restaurant raid wasn't just about optics, it was existential. No one wanted to dine at a scandal. The once bustling hotspot, a symbol of Blake Lively's success beyond Hollywood, suddenly felt radioactive. Patrons weren't just canceling reservations, they were questioning whether the place had ever been legit. The whispers grew louder. Was this business a front? Was it tied to something darker? Public perception, once her greatest asset, had turned into a liability she couldn't control. And the shadow of the investigation loomed large. What was once a pet project now stood as a monument to everything Blake was at risk of losing. The investigation wasn't just threatening her business, it was dismantling her entire public persona. And as the bribery probe expanded, both her personal and professional worlds teetered on the edge. The divide among the public only deepened. Some still clung to the image of Blake as a victim, a woman targeted by a biased industry or a bitter ex-colleague. But others saw the mounting evidence, the odd coincidences, the missteps, and couldn't help but wonder if the accusations were true. Whether guilty or not, the damage had been done. The Blake Lively of old, polished, untouchable, adored, was gone. And what remained was a cautionary tale unfolding in real time. Then came the moment no one saw coming, her arrest. In a dramatic late-night operation, Blake Lively was taken into custody at her Los Angeles home on charges related to bribery and obstruction of justice. The glamorous movie star who once graced magazine covers and red carpets was now in handcuffs. It was a surreal turn, not just because of who she was, but because of what it meant. The stakes had already been sky-high, but this took things to a new level. Suddenly, Blake wasn't just the face of a legal drama, she was the accused in a federal crime. The charges were serious, no PR spin could erase that. Prosecutors pointed directly to Blake's alleged role in influencing Judge Louis J. Lyman's suspicious dismissal of key claims in Baldoni's lawsuit. The same judge who had already raised eyebrows for his rulings. The implication? Blake didn't just want to win, she allegedly tried to buy the win. The arrest wasn't a sidebar in the case. It was the case now. The law had shifted its gaze. And it was no longer just looking at court filings. It was looking at Blake herself. Legally, the case fell under Section 134 of the U.S. Criminal Code, the statute that criminalizes bribery of public officials. It's a serious charge, reserved for the kind of behavior that shatters trust in government and judiciary alike. The message was clear: fame doesn't equal immunity. Influence doesn't mean invincibility. Authorities were treating the matter with the weight it deserved, and Blake Lively, the golden girl of the big screen, was now facing the same justice as anyone else. The media frenzy was instant. Her arrest trended globally within minutes. Every outlet had a take, every pundit had a theory. And while her fans rallied, the headlines weren't kind. From red carpet to jail cell, one tabloid screamed. Others were worse. For Blake's image, the arrest was a death knell. The graceful, stylish actress was now a criminal defendant. It wasn't just humiliating. It was potentially career-ending. Still, her team scrambled to take control. Within hours, Blake had posted bail, narrowly avoiding a night behind bars. But if she thought the worst was over, she was mistaken. Bail didn't erase the charges, it simply gave her a chance to fight them outside a jail cell. And that fight would be brutal. Every filing, every court appearance, every leak would now unfold under a microscope. Her defense team knew they had entered crisis mode. Their job wasn't just to clear her name, it was to stop the bleeding before it became fatal. Their strategy was immediate: deny everything, frame the arrest as part of a smear campaign, and try to reframe Blake as the real victim. But the stakes couldn't have been higher. These weren't tabloid rumors anymore.